Here we are going to see what are interfaces and how we can use an interfaces in Java. So let's start. Interface are nothing but collection of abstract method. Let's see the theory. Interfaces. An interface specifies the behavior of a class by providing an abstract type. Interface is collection of abstract methods. To achieve interface, we have to use the keyword interface. So let's create a simple example. As there is a class, there is an interface as well. I'm going to use a package interface example. My files will be here for this practical, and I'm going to use RBI Bank as my interface name. Let's write the interface name RBI. Interface is just like a class only, but in case of class we use a class keyword, and in interface we use a interface as a keyword. Here interface is a keyword because I is written in small case, and RBI Bank is my interface name. I'm going to create an abstract method, rate of interest. So I'm going to use public void rate of interest, get rate of interest. This will be an abstract method. As we know, abstract method doesn't have an implementation. So this is my interface with an abstract method, get rate of interest. Let's save this. Now let's create a class that implements this interface. For this, let's create a class SBI Bank. After creating this class, we are going to use a keyword implements. Implements is a keyword which is used for inheriting an interface. After implements, we are going to write the interface name which we want to use, RBI Bank. Now all the methods of RBI Bank are given to SBI. So we have to override that abstract method. As we know, a normal class cannot have an abstract method. So I'm going to overwrite that method. Just make sure the signature is same of your interfaces method as well as the overridden method. So I'm going to override the get rate of interest method and its implementation. Sorry, G should be in small as in RBI Bank. Here, as you can see, we can also give an override notation to tell a compiler that we have overridden this method from RBI Bank, which is a parent of SBI Bank. Here I'm going to print a statement, normal statement, system.out.println rate of interest, the rate of interest of SBI. I'm going to use a random number like 9.2% in my code. 9.2. Save your code. Now we are going to create object of SBI Bank. Save your code in my main class or test class. I'm going to create a new class that will be my main class. You can give any name. I'm going to use main, and then inside my main class I'm going to have my main method public static void main. Here I'm going to create the object of SBI Bank and call the method get interest rate. So as you know, we are going to use the class name with a reference is equals to new keyword and the class name again and open close bracket constructor semicolon and call the method by s1. Now let's save our code and run. You will see the method is executed. It's an object. Okay, there are some rules. So let's read this theory. By using interface, we can create multiple inheritance, and by using implements keyword, a Java can implement an interface or use an interface. Here, as I have used a class interface with an implements method. So there are some important points that we need to remember. The first is the most important one. Like abstract classes, interfaces cannot create an object. So let's see here. If I create, what happens if I create an object of my interface? So I'm going to use RBI bank, give any reference, and then use a new keyword. The interface name. Here you will get an error. So let's just see the error. Cannot instantiate the type RBI bank. So we cannot create an object of an interface. I'm going to write here and then comment this line. So we cannot create object of an interface. Okay, let me just comment this line. Okay, this is a first important rule. Then the method inside an interface cannot have a body. That body is given in an implemented class. So I'm going to just show you an example for this. Go to your interface. I'm going to create a method. This will be a normal method. Or normal methods are those methods that have implementation. So I'm going to use a withdraw method. I'm just going to show you the exception or error. Abstract methods do not specify a body, as interfaces can have abstract methods, not a normal method with implementation. Okay, so let me just write something here. This is my normal method. We cannot have a normal method inside an interface. Inside an interface, like here. So I'm going to comment this statement as well. So we cannot have a normal method inside an interface. Okay, let me just arrange this properly. Now let's see. Again, the body is provided by the implemented class. On implementation of interfaces, we must override all its method, as I have done it in my example here in my SBI bank. Now let's give an normal example. Take a second method, public void check balance. This is an example to show you, if I don't override this method, I will get an error here. The type SBI bank must implement the inherited abstract method. So we must override all the abstract method which is given by your interface. Okay, here you can have any implementation here. This is just an example to show you we must override. Interface methods are by default abstract and public. Okay, so let's go and check. We don't have to write the abstract keyword when you create a abstract method inside an interface. Here, even if I write an abstract keyword, it doesn't matter. You can write, or it's by default it's given there, so we don't write abstract keyword. And public as well, it is by default public. No other access specifiers are allowed here, like protected and private. We will get an error here. Illegal modifier, we can use only public. Okay, let's save a code. What previous code? Save everything, and then interface are by default public, static, and fine. We can use this for fields as well. So here, the new feature of Java 1.8, above 1.8, we can have a default normal method. We can have a default normal method in which we can use the default keyword like public void. As you know, we cannot have a normal implemented method, but we can have a default implemented method. I'm going to show you in this example. Here M1 is my implemented method. As you can see, I'm getting an error there in M1. So I'm just said RBI interface. Now let's use the default keyword. If I use a default keyword here, default is a keyword. Okay, here you can see the error is gone, and then you can save the RBI bank interface. Go to your main method, you can call by the reference of your main method s1.m1. Here you can see you can call it. Okay, now let's go and save my RBI bank interface, and then you can see if you run the code, the method will be executed here. In case of default, we can also use a static keyword as well inside an interface. Okay, if you don't want to use this default, you can also have static keyword. If you use a static keyword, then we have to use the interface name to call the M1 method. Here you can see I have used static, then there is static and final, and the last one, an interface cannot have a constructor. Yes, as we cannot create an object of my interface, we cannot have constructor. Here M1 is static, so I just have to remove this S1 and use the interface name RBI bank. We can also have a private method inside an interface, implemented private method. Okay, so we cannot create an object, so there are no constructor. So static final. So let's just use a variable inside this interface. Okay, so let me just create a normal variable. There are some rules for declaring a variable as well. If I'm having int, let me just use cache. If there are some default cache inside my interface, here private, see I'm getting an error. We cannot declare a variable inside an interface as private. Only public is allowed inside an interface, and also by default this cache is final. We can also use static, final and static with the variable inside a interface. If you remove this and we also remove this, we are going to get an error. So these are the rules for creating an variable plus abstract methods, and how to have normal methods inside an interface. This is my main method. Okay, so we have completed all the important points of an interface which are used in Java. Multiple inheritance is supported through interface. Here, one interface we can have comma and then write the second interface's name to achieve multiple inheritance using implements keyword. Thank you.